Welcome back to Morning Express. The ladies are here. Yes, you've seen them on KTN. The newest news anchor. Did I just say the newest news anchor? That is so wrong. The newest anchor, but news anchor. Yes, right here on KTN. Nancy Kachungira is with us on set. Also, Joy Doreen Bera from Uganda as well with Love, and host of Africa Speaks also is here with us, and the lovely Edith Kimani, the presenter, and of course host of the news desk alongside Bonnie Tunya. You guys are looking so uncomfortable.
Did you just call me the presenter? I don't remember the last time anyone referred to me as that.
Well, that's
been 5 years.
That's where the journey began.
It's been 5 years.
But that's how we got to know Edith.
Yeah,
first.
that is how we got to know Edith.
Yeah. How was that experience?
It was 5 years ago.
Yes. A long time.
Yeah, but it's amazing. People still stop me and they're like, I voted for you. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like that's how she got started. What an interesting way to get into the industry.
Yeah, I know. It was baptism by fire, as they call it. Yeah, and I had to sink or swim. And seeing as the entire nation was looking at me, I had to swim.
Yeah.
And here I am, waddling my way through the waters.
I know. And was it the pressure? I mean, first you're in front of everybody, it's a competition, and now you've been in the industry all these years.
I mean, was it pressure during the competition, or is it pressure now?
Now, after, during and after.
Well, yes, because the thing about being on a reality show is people set expectations for you.
Yeah.
And so they say, oh, she started off as this girl, we wanted to grow into this woman. And if you don't grow into that mold, then people are disappointed. Oh, we had so much faith in you.
Yeah.
Or if you exceed their expectations, then it's always the complete opposite. Yeah. Look at you, you've grown so much.
So glad I
so
voted.
Tiny.
Yes, they always say that.
You're so tiny.
And first, girls, did you call each other after we said you're coming?
Oh yeah, I was
you're gonna wear.
Yeah, so we do this every day. We're
every day.
What you wearing, Edith?
What you wearing?
Yeah. Well, I don't have that, but let me check with my neighbor.
You did notice, Joy? They called each other.
Yeah,
it's
like
so
seriously.
strange.
Yeah?
We just showed up and realized we're wearing the same color.
But it's you're in Kenya now working. It's a new experience, must be. How's everything going?
I must say, better than I expected.
Yeah, what did you expect?
So much optimism.
So much optimism. Yes, I had prepared myself for a really tough experience.
Okay.
Because it's a different country, everything's different. But I think it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be. And just in terms of, I guess KTN is also a very good place to come to. So that's made it a lot easier. The people are nice.
We had a nice...
I wasn't talking about you.
We had a nice people.
I wasn't talking about you guys.
Oh, really? Yeah?
No, but it's such a great environment to work in. And I think that's made it so much easier. The transition has made that a lot easier.
Yeah.
Some things are difficult, of course. I do miss my banana crisps, which I love.
Yeah,
that's expected.
Yes. But so far, I'm loving the new adventure, the new experience, just the chance to experience a different culture. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. And Joy, you've been here longer, and I guess one of the
big sister.
Yeah, the big sister. I guess one of the challenges also for you and coming into the news industry is getting to learn, what the Kenyan public is about. The stories, the politicians. It's a political story. You are a lot in the business arena as well, but also just getting the the story from the Kenyan person perspective.
Well, I should say, if you compare, say, Uganda and Kenya, you realize that the audience in Kenya is more news interested. When people watch news, when people watch news, they want to know what's going on and they want factual news. So you actually wouldn't be telling them something new. You would actually have to be informing them about what's going on. And, it could be slightly a different story in Uganda with, the very few TV stations that are there. So when you come here, the experience is obviously different, but it gives you a lot of opportunity to grow. I think there's a lot of opportunities available in Kenya, which are actually vast.
Yeah.
And people just have to tap into them.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious. So what do people in Uganda want to watch when they watch the news?
They do watch news. They do watch the news. But you see, Edith, come on. Well, they do want to be informed. But I'm just looking at the people who watch news. I would say 25 and above.
Okay.
24 going down. Maybe a little bit of entertainment, newspapers, and, and stuff.
And also now it's the whole game is changing with social media. By 7 o'clock, even 1 o'clock at 7, 9, everybody knows everything. So why are people still watching news when they have social media and have all the updates?
You tell us. You're on TV.
Well, I think the people not on social media are watching, but also I guess the pictures, getting to now see, you know, because you'll read about, you know, this and this happened, but when the story is put in context with some background, and I know sometimes we'll go like big on a story, and so there's analysis, there's interviews, so it's not your tweet of so-and-so fell on the stairs. So you'll understand this staircase.
But it's not just the pictures. I think also, I mean, there have been so many times news is broken on social media, only a day later to find out it wasn't quite true or it wasn't accurate. So I think a lot of times TV news actually verifies that a story is true because we take our time to, you know, and journalism is a long-standing tradition. So,
but sometimes journalists are responsible for the false information on social media.
That happens.
And that's something that we're all having to deal with on a daily basis, is what do you put out there that is personal and what do you put out there that represents who you work for? Because it's very difficult to differentiate. And at points, it's impossible. Because if I say, I'm out partying, woohoo, guys are going to be like, what's wrong with these KTN people? Just the same way, if I say so-and-so has said 1, 2, 3, it's going to be interpreted as KTN has said. So that's the thing for me that is still very challenging, and so I've sort of backed away until I can figure it out.
You do not tweet much. You have quite a number, like 60-something thousand followers. And you don't talk to them.
I do.
Why are we following you again?
It's the mystery.
It's the mystery. Yeah, because that's an interesting point, because I find that people, and I've not written that, I don't know if any of you have that caption on your profile, that comments
retweets
here.
Are not endorsements.
Retweets are not endorsements, and that whatever I say here is my own. I'm like, well,
that doesn't really mean anything. But I treat social media like walking in the street, because there are things I would say while I'm walking on the street, and there are things I wouldn't say. So I think this is just a new platform, but the rules of social interaction remain the same. So it's different because you're not actually seeing the people you're talking to, but I think we have to look at it that way. If it's not something you'd say on the street, don't put it on Twitter. You know, you'll lose your job on a plane ride to South Africa. That's what happens.
Justin.
So what happens?
I think that sometimes, you know, as media personalities, I think it always comes in as, oh my gosh, can I actually say I'm taking tea? You know, I can't say I'm doing that. But you know, the different social media platforms give you allowance to do that. For instance, you can tweet 140 characters, and then you can post a picture on Instagram, and you know, you can do a video on YouTube. Like, you just have to know where to put certain information.
I was just wondering, you know, it's a very good analogy that you've given about walking in the streets. Look at me commandeering your interview.
No, this is not an interview. Chat.
A chat.
Hang out.
Walking in the streets. So what happens when someone confronts you? Because people are very confrontational on social media.
But what would you typically do on the street?
Look at me. I'm not about to get into a fight with anyone.
So you wouldn't get into a fight on Twitter. You'd probably say, well, that's your opinion, and I'm going to walk away from this and not get involved.
But a lot of the time, things are lost in translation. You send someone a text message or you send someone an email, and they read it in a voice that they want to read it in. So you might say something really sweet and someone interprets that as, look at her, what is she saying? So how do you deal with that? Because that's the thing that we lose when you're working on a screen.
But also, I think the thing about social media, I don't know if you find this, but I think it emboldens people, and they say things they wouldn't normally say to your face. So, you know, I do try to remember that they are the vocal minority. So vocal, yes.
Majority or
minority. So just because one person tweeted something doesn't mean everyone else thinks that. And I think, you know, you kind of take it on a case-by-case basis. Some people will say things that shouldn't matter to you. I think we have to be very careful about the voices we choose to listen to, because there are so many and they come every day.
Because sometimes I'll get a tweet, you know, somebody's saying something and you're like, okay, you want to, like, you know, get on with it and clarify or say, no, this is not what I meant, or, you know, or apologize. But, like, you know, some things will just, it'll spiral into something else. So sometimes the best thing I find is to
Yeah.
But sometimes, it's never that serious. Sometimes you just have to laugh at something. If it's a joke, laugh at it. I mean, people always want to see the lighter side of media personalities, especially with the news personalities.
I don't
because
have a lighter
this whole
side.
Exactly. What if
serious
I don't have a
outfit-
all the time.
This is me 24/7.
Don't tell me
I
that
think it's
you don't
okay
get
for
into
personalities to be different,
Well,
because
you
I
don't
also
get into
don't
a
think
sweatshirt sometime. I'm sure you do that. So
Yeah.
it's just the same feeling that people out there always ask. Do you guys even yawn? Like, do you?
yawn.
So the thing
every
is,
time someone
that's
says
what they expect as well
You
on
feel
social
like
media. That while we have a serious side, they also want to see a little bit of the light side.
It's chronic. Every time someone says that
Don't do
word.
it, don't do it, don't do it.
Seriously, that was a real yawn.
Yes, it happens. Don't say it.
Yawn.
I think that might be a serious disorder.
You're making me yawn on TV. Guys, no, seriously.
Most hilarious thing
So
ever.
that only
Please stop
applies
saying
to
I'll just drop it in conversation.
Don't say it. That is so hilarious. I've never seen.
I think it
doesn't
might be a
happen to you?
disorder.
No, it happens to so many people. Come
I
on.
know what happens is when somebody yawns, then
Don't say it.
Oh, sorry.
This has to be the most hilarious thing ever.
You actually
No. It just
don't think
happens
applies
with
to
that.
yawn.
But
What else happens if we say run?
No.
When you start running.
No, I can't believe it. No, it's actually a study was done because this really used to baffle me. And they say that it's like a sympathetic response, but it also is triggered by the word. So please don't say it anymore.
I thought it was triggered by when somebody yawns, it's contagious.
Yeah, but it is contagious. It is. Oh gosh.
They say it's
We're not gonna say that
a
again.
mirror reflex, it's
Nancy, come
contagious,
on.
all these fancy words for it, but let's not use that. Okay,
All right.
no more
that
opening
word.
of
That
the
word.
mouth to take
Yeah,
in
no more
chunks
Y
of air.
words. But also, still on social media, being on TV, and with people finding you mysterious and they want to find out more about Nancy, about Joy, what is Edith like, where does she hang out, who's her boyfriend and all that sort of things, they'll wonder. There are those who write crazy. We're talking about blogging just a few moments ago, and the gossip blogs will come up with sometimes all manner of crazy stories. So when there's like a bad story or vibe on the internet going on about you, how do you deal with that? And even your friends are reading, your family's reading, and they're like,
Yeah.
what is this we're seeing online?
I think family, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's the most difficult part about the job. These are people who did not sign up for all the attention. These are people who have to be called by their friends. Imagine your mother getting a phone call being like, hey, I've heard this story about your daughter. Is it true? And then she has to deal with it. She's firefighting on your behalf. Your sisters, their friends are asking these questions, talking behind their backs because of something that is falsely written about you. So it's very easy for me to say, it means absolutely nothing. I can deal with it. But when it starts to affect the family, then it becomes an issue. Luckily, I haven't had to be in that situation, but I always dread it. And I don't know what I would do. Maybe you guys should tell me.
And also talk
what I
about
should
red
do.
pepper, because I know Uganda, it's crazy in terms of the
my
stories they
goodness.
put out
Talk
on
about it,
media
Nancy.
personalities.
Is there a story there?
No, there's no story.
We'll find out.
But yes, Ugandan tabloids can be quite vicious.
Yeah.
And I think it did teach me one thing. When I made my debut on TV, there were all sorts of opinions, and I can't say that at the time I had a very tough skin, they felt like personal attacks some of the time. But I think as you grow and as you continue to, just be exposed to this, you kind of learn that it's an occupational hazard. It comes with the territory, and what you have to do is choose how you respond to it.
Yeah.
Because now, honestly, it really doesn't matter. You come to realize the things that do matter, the opinions that matter, and that honestly doesn't matter. So it's one of those things that, you move on. The people who matter in your life will know what's true and what's not.
What's not.
And that's all
Joy?
you need.
Well, I don't know what experience Nancy has had, but I think
Well, they reported that I was getting married last year.
Yeah.
Are you getting married?
Are you getting married?
No, well, clearly.
Maybe they were just
They
mistaken on the
reported
dates.
wrong.
But you see, the thing about tabloids is they sell propaganda. So anything that makes money for them, if there's a personality that sells more, they don't care whether or not something is factual. They'll just write it as long as somebody is interested in reading about Sophia. If Sophia will appear in the tabloids every week, why not read about it, or why not buy the paper? So I think I didn't have the best of experiences with you. Of course, I cried a few times, the first 3 times, and I'm like, what's going on here? Because at that time I was about 21 when I had just gotten into TV, and the first thing they said is I was dating my co-host, and I was like, okay, what's going on now? And then after that, because I was in school at the time, they would take pictures of you maybe covering something, and the story would read something else. So with tabloids in Uganda, they're a little bit more into selling the paper than writing factual information.
Is it a thing to sort of discredit women by saying they're in relationships with people or by saying they're getting married? I don't understand. Why is that always the talking point? Ooh, Edith is dating so and so, and people will go crazy about it. Why is that such a big deal?
I know because you find that is what they'll look at for who you're dating, who you're with. Spotted, KTN siren, Edith Kimani.
That's Betty.
Betty,
TV siren.
TV siren. And I don't know. It's. Why do you think that, Ed?
Well, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is it's almost to discredit you, as though you are nothing without a man. We've had this conversation on some level where...
Are you nothing without a man?
Well, in African culture. I mean, I did an interview once where a lady really did say that she thought she wasn't one woman enough. She thought she was female, but she wasn't woman enough because she didn't have a child.
Wow.
And the reason she didn't have a child was because her man abandoned her and because she was barren. And so there are all these things which have been sunken into us over time because of our cultural backgrounds that we then carry on to our children and our children's children, and that's why it hurts so much and it stings so much when someone starts talking about your relationships, in turn implying who you're sleeping with, because that's what it always leads to.
But sometimes you always laugh. There's something to laugh about, amid all of this wrong information that is going on blogs and tabloids, whatever. There's always something to laugh about because sometimes you read, they'll write she was 24 in 2005. She's 24 in 2007. She's 24 in 2010.
She's a vampire.
So there's always there's always something to laugh about. So sometimes you read it and you're like, okay, I don't remember doing this interview.
And by the way, guys, I have cupcakes here.
Oh, thank you.
I'm getting you guys a little bit bigger.
No, I demand sausages and eggs, which is what you had for the girls last week.
Those guys, by the way, they're very, they made their request known.
Organize these cupcakes.
I did.
We should have been told that orders were being taken.
I should have let you know. But instead I was having a conversation with some people. I was talking about bills. When you're like dating somebody or you're with someone and, excuse me, you go out to a restaurant, dinners, date, whatever, hang out with your friends. And on the question of who pick up the bills at the end, because there are people who think, guys who think in modern day world, Kenya, you should share the bill, or you should sometimes pay as the woman. Then there are women who feel never, never, we're out, it's the man is the head of the house and the head of the date and the head of the everything.
And the head of the wallet.
Yes.
So sometimes I think it depends. Maybe if it's a date, the first date, really, how the guy behaves, it really says a lot about him. So if it's a first date and this guy is saying, can we go Dutch? You're like, what's going on here? I thought you chose the place, you actually picked me up. Why are you asking me to pay the bill? I think sometimes it's always right for a guy to say, while we're going out, this is how it's going to be like. We're going to be going Dutch because of this and that. Sometimes it's always better to prepare somebody. But when somebody asks you to pay the bill after and the very first time you're meeting them, I think that's a very big no.
What's your rule, Nancy? What do you think?
Well, I think the fact that we asked this question is interesting in itself. But let me say,
we have gone so meta. Let's analyze the philosophy of this
I will say that a guy who leaves for the bathroom when the check comes, I probably will not get a second date. But yes, why I was saying it's interesting that we even asked this question is because for me, there's an underlying problem that's much deeper, and that's the fact that we don't know our roles anymore as men and women. The lines are so blurred, we're all so confused, because there was a time when that question wouldn't even be asked. When it was very clear that a man's role was to do this and to do that, and a woman's role was to do this and to do that.
Right.
But now, everything's up in the air, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I think there are great things that came from the feminist movement. Absolutely. We're here today because of that. But I think sometimes we take it a little too far, and there are some things that biologically, naturally, by God's order, were supposed to remain a certain way.
So for you, the man should...
I do think that the man should, because it speaks to your relationship. There cannot be two heads in a house. That's just it. You cannot have two drivers in a car. It just can't work. Someone has to take the lead. This doesn't mean that he oppresses the woman, doesn't mean the woman is any less than him. It just means that his role is different from the woman's. So I think someone has to steer that ship.
Ed is clearly not on that
No,
page.
I
of
completely
those heads
I disagree
of
with that.
days,
Like saying, let's go Dutch.
No, I agree with some aspects of what you're saying. True, you cannot have two drivers in one car. But we asked for this. Everyone was like, let's have equality. We want an egalitarian society. So the women said they want the jobs that the men have. The women said that they want to be treated in a certain way that men are treated, and they don't want to be treated on the base of gender, but, you know, from the head up, as is the quote. And so if I'm earning just as much as you are, maybe even more, there's no problem if I pay for the bill once in a while.
True.
Well, there's no problem.
True,
if
but
we
when
go
you
Dutch once
expect it
in a
as
while.
the man, you're like, okay, so babe,
But then
this is what,
we,
5,000?
but then we expect it as women as well. Why is it that there are double standards when it comes to paying bills? So we're fine on everything else. It's okay for me to expect my husband, my boyfriend, to change the light bulb. It's okay for me to expect him to drive me to work, drop me off, buy me flowers over Valentine's. But it's not okay if he expects me to once in a while pick up the tab.
I think whilst on some areas we balance it out, there's some you just cannot cross.
Like what?
On bills, I'm with Nancy.
Really?
The man
Not
is the head
saying
of
that a lady will never pay the bills.
I am.
Once in a while, you know, you
can't
just
believe
say,
this.
today,
How
let me just pay the bill. But not all the time. It gets tiring. I think I'm up for once in a while.
Yeah, I
paying a
will
bill.
take you out.
You
I
know?
will be
No,
like,
but
babe.
in the same way, you know what? The thing that confuses me is these women, and I'm not saying these women
These
to
ones.
blankets,
These women.
to blankets.
Point at them, point fingers.
These women
Hold them out.
will then say, oh babe, can you please do the dishes today? Oh honey, thank you so much for cooking. That's a traditional male role.
But Edith, we're not saying that it's a hard and fast rule. I mean, when you've been married 13 years, there's no way you're going to expect your husband to pay for every meal. You know, you start.
So then when
there's an understanding.
when
that
does he then stop
get used
being
to
a
it.
traditional male?
Also, the world we live in is different. It's harder now for men to get high-paying jobs. You know, it's women actually taking up some
Yeah,
of those
that's true.
spaces. So the imbalances, you know, the world we live in is so different. So we can't say it's a hard and fast rule. But I do think men were created to take up certain roles. And when they are denied those roles, things change.
We're
When they are
created to take
denied
up those roles.
When they're even women, when you are denied those roles, things will change. Things will,
All right,
things will be
let's just
different.
sample some of these roles. Like men
I
were
want to
created
hear
take
the
up some of these roles.
Okay,
Like?
women were created to give birth.
Well, that's biological.
Agree?
We can't even fight that.
biological.
Okay,
We can't
at
fight
least we agree.
Nowadays,
on
there's
something.
technology. You can do all manner of things to ensure.
So do you really?
I'm not going to let's continue.
I'm not sure there's that much technology. But, okay, let's talk about heading a household, okay? One of the reasons that I think we are, you know, let's look at our society, how the percentage of people in prison, men or women?
Well, men.
Men, definitely, right? Because the thing is, once you have a broken home, you have men who maybe didn't know their fathers, didn't have a stable family. They go out and become these men who now end up in these prisons. And as the man goes, the society goes.
And
that's
half of
what I
them have
believe.
stolen
Because
money.
stolen money. I don't know how she
Rob
said
the
that in.
bank or something. Half of them have stolen money, actually.
Stolen money.
Yeah, that's the reason they're in jail. You
So
know,
the
they've
truth is,
stolen
if the
something.
men are not good fathers, you're not going to have happy wives, you're not going to have happy children,
Yeah.
productive children. So it kind of all starts from there.
I completely disagree with that notion, because that would imply then that the entire continent of Africa should be crumbling. It should be on its belly. That's what it should be, because statistics show that around 45% of women, by the time they're around 40, they're going to be single parents because of either death in the family.
But is that the way it should
desertion.
be?
But then the women take up the roles, and traditionally African women,
and they do, but they shouldn't necessarily have to.
But tell you what,
it's not an ideal situation.
I read a book about I read a book about a Nigerian author.
Yeah.
Who said that if a man can't take care of his woman, there's no need for him to even make the first move in the first place, because there's something always in a man's mind when he likes a woman. You know, he thinks about all kinds of things, the future, kids and all that. So at the end of the day, is he thinking of taking care of these children? Is he thinking of you know, building a home or buying, you know, building a house or buying one? So there are all these things that a guy, you know, prides himself in. A guy prides himself in having a wonderful family, putting a roof over their head and taking care of them. So if a man cannot take care of a woman in the least of basics, he's not going to take care of her in the bigger issues. And that's the point, because it's not about saying, just like Edith is saying, let's go Dutch, or, you know, I will pay the bills when I have to. Sometimes it's about them being able to pride themselves in taking care of their families. That's why many men today have a problem with women who earn more than them, because it kind of feels like they're taking over their roles. Yeah.
This one is definitely one I know you have a million, gadillion things to say about it, but Valentine's Day is coming up. Our time is winding up. But we must talk about this one, because, you know, when I was beginning the show today, I was like, hey, by the way, it's 7 days to go to Valentine's Day for those who care. And for those who have people who care, because sometimes you don't care about it, but if you're dating me and I care about it, you will have
by
to.
extension, yes.
Yeah, you know. But what are your thoughts? 14th February, it's the big thing, February month.
You know my stand, first of all, on the roles of men and women, so you can predetermine what my views
You will buy him flowers.
No, honestly, I have never cared for Valentine's. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Maybe they inherited ideas that I got from maybe my parents or my family, but I've never really seen the big deal. Don't get me flowers on Feb 14th because some guy on the street is giving them to you at a discounted rate.
Will you wear red?
Absolutely not.
Or black?
No.
Well, it just might happen.
I'm
that
not
you're wearing
anti-Valentine.
red.
What are we wearing that day?
Not red.
Not red.
What about you, Joy? What are your thoughts?
Well, Valentine's, when it comes to Valentine's, I think I have split sides. First, I think that if people are going to express their love, they don't have to have one day in a year for them to do that. Like, hey,
and nobody says Valentine is the one day you told can't say love you.
Yes,
No, that's not
but
the
I think that
definition.
for
Where
people
did we
who
pick that up?
I think for people who take it serious, it's always good for them to show that, you know, look, I'm going to wear red and black and you're going to wear a red dress and black shoes.
Yeah.
And we're going to go out to dinner and we're going to have roses on the table and we're going to take wine. We're going to have, you know, dinner. For people who love to do that, let them do it. It's fulfilling for them. It's fulfilling to the heart. Imagine if a woman was expecting that her boyfriend is going to take her out on Valentine's and the dude just doesn't show up. I mean, of course, she's going to think. But personally, I think send me the flowers. I'll say thanks.
So you're a flower
Don't
girl.
send them.
I love flowers.
Well, I love flowers.
Oh my
I can't stand
I love flowers.
Look at
Give me something I can eat.
There's
really
something
flowers are
about
beautiful.
you
Who
too.
doesn't love flowers? Clearly,
I'm not
Ed.
saying I don't love flowers. I'm saying don't flood the office with flowers on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And you don't even know the difference between a tulip and a rose.
Oh, my
that's
gosh.
That's harsh.
Okay, Nancy. Valentine's Day, big
Well.
for you? It's the biggest day in the year?
Oh my goodness, I can't wait. It's, you know, like I mark my
She's been
calendar.
talking about it all week.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Honestly, I really, it's just never been one of those things that I'm interested in. However, I do think for a certain kind of personality, it is a fantastic thing. I think it's really sweet when, you know, people go out of their way to do things for other people. True, some people do it just because, you know, it's another day and all that.
Yeah.
But I think for the people that it matters to, it's nice to watch. I would not like to participate, but I'm happy to watch and see see
So if
people
somebody
happy.
asks to take you out on Valentine's Day, you'll say, you know what, let's go out on
Maybe
the
tomorrow.
15th.
You know, if it's somebody who have maybe spent a year without seeing, it's always lovely, you know, when you
To see
actually,
them on Valentine's
yeah,
Day.
when somebody calls you and says, you know, I just wanted to say I've missed you. This is a friend you haven't
on
spoken to.
Valentine's Day?
Yes, these
Really?
days. Well, maybe I'm a hopeless romantic, but I think it's a beautiful thing.
It's a
When
beautiful
somebody
thing.
calls you after 9 months and they're like, you know, I just wanted to talk to you.
On February 14th.
14.
I don't
It doesn't
understand
hurt.
this.
It doesn't hurt. In fact,
another
if that
day.
person makes it a habit to call me every 14th, I'm okay. I'm cool.
Yeah, let Joy have her thing.
If this is somebody that I have a very close relationship with,
Yeah.
I think I would take it a little bit personal, because
Do you know what I would
then
like to
I would
see?
actually think, okay, what's going on here? I thought this love thing is supposed to be an everyday thing, you know? And just call me on the 14th and tell me, you know, what's going on. You know, I would have some questions about
Our
that.
time is up. I'll allow you each. I don't know what you want to say as we wrap this up, but I
Gosh,
think
so many things.
I know. Yeah, Ed, there are so many things. But many people just get to see you, and somebody will be like, oh, that was so beautiful, getting into the media through a competition, being on all these years. You're very young, Ed. People don't know how young Ed is. Like, she's Edith, a very young girl, but doing amazing things, you know. So what is the future for Ed? Like, what is it you're aspiring to do? And what do you tell those at 21, at 22, they're not thinking they are, you know, up to task to fight it out with people who they think are worthy of those spots?
Well, yeah, it's
Big loaded
yeah,
question.
It's a loaded question, but well, not loaded in that sense, but the 25-year-old of 2014 is not the 25-year-old that was there in 1994, and it certainly will not be the 25-year-old that's going to be there in 2025. Things are changing. Times are moving so fast. I don't think it's going to be such a big deal for 19-year-olds to be employed in the next 10 or 15 years. It's a very competitive industry, not just industry, just the whole employment sector.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a lot more innovation. What would I say to the 21-year-old? So I learned something the other week from my friends who said, you know, we carry the burden of always inspiring other people, as opposed to just living your life and allowing that inspiration to just flow through you. If you are who you are, then people will pick up things about you that they like, as opposed to trying so hard to be someone.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So to the 21-year-old, find the opportunities. There's always opportunities and resources in everything that you do. You want to be a banker. Have you been to the local institution to see how it operates? One. Have you spoken to any bank managers to see if you can get some work experience?
Okay.
That sort of thing. A lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I really want to be a TV news anchor. And I'm like, okay, that's great. What sort of anchor? And they don't know, because they don't know the first thing about television. They just think it's this glamorous lifestyle. Explore your resources and exploit them.
Okay. In less than a minute, Joy, then Nancy.
Well,
Sorry, I took up one.
it's all
less than a
right.
minute.
It's all right. I think what Edith is saying actually makes a lot of sense. When I got into TV, I was about 21 as well, and I think that the basic thing that people or younger people like us need to know. Well, not as young as Edith. I think I'm
We need to demystify her age at the end of her.
all right. I don't want to put it that way, but all I'm trying to say is that a young person should be able to know what they want to do in the nearest time possible, especially after college or after university, because it's very important that you know what you want to do. That sets the pace for you, because sometimes it's difficult to encourage people on where to go, how to do it, you know, because you just don't know what they want to do.
It has to come from within you.
It has
must
to come
know
from
what
them.
you want to do. Finally,
Yes.
Nancy.
I'll say one word very quickly. And the word is purpose.
Yeah.
I've been so many things in my life. I was a ballet dancer at some point. I was a radio presenter. I was a graphic designer. Now I'm a news anchor. And all these things have contributed to who I am today. But for me, the most important thing is purpose. And I can't talk about purpose without talking about God, because I feel that He's the only one who can tell you what you're created for. But once you find that, everything clicks. So I would say, you know, your job, your work, that's not necessarily your purpose. It's your platform. It's where you go to do what you do. But the thing that drives you, the thing that makes you passionate every morning to get up and say, this is who I'm going to be and this is the difference I'm going to make in the world, is purpose. purpose, and purpose is always about other people. It's never about you. When you give people what they want, you always have what you need.
Excellent. Perfect way to end up the show. We must end. Nancy Kachungera, Joy Durinbera, Edith Kimani. Thank you, ladies, for being part of the show. And thank you for watching Purpose. Remember that as you enjoy your weekend, we'll see you again, same time, same place, right here on KTN. Bye-bye.